Shana Tova, Happy New Year. Welcome to a special bonus episode of Funny They Don't Look Jewish. I'm Henry Bernstein, and in a moment, you'll join a conversation Brandon and I had about Season 5 of the CW's Arrow, in which Ragman is a supporting character. Take a listen.
This guy is so D-list, Henry. I've got to ask, can we find this obscure character anywhere else other than in the comics, right? There's never going to be a Ragman movie, I don't think.
I don't think there's going to be a Ragman movie. The DC Extended Universe have their own problems. But I'm so glad you asked that. Ragman, Rory Regan, was a recurring character on Arrow Season 5. Shall I tell you a little bit about Arrow?
Yeah, please.
Arrow is a series on the CW. It is the first series among what's called the Arrowverse or the Berlanti-verse. It's a TV superhero show developed by Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, and Andrew Kreisberg. First superhero show really that stuck since Smallville, which went on for 10 seasons. It starts out loosely based around Green Arrow, very famous B superhero. A superhero, I mean...
A minus or
A minus. He's
the
the first member of the Justice League beyond the original 7. Early on, they're straying away from comic book source material, but as the series went on and got more popular, they got more and more into very good source material. It spun off of The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and Black Lightning, and coming this fall, Batwoman, which is a series that Brandon and I have been very curious about. If you go back to our Batwoman episode, we talked about this new series coming out and speculated whether the character is going to be Jewish or not. There is confirmation from an article from The Forward, and many other news sources picked it up. Batwoman Kate Kane, played by Ruby Rose in the series, will be Jewish in the show.
Great. That's awesome.
Thrilled about that. Sorry
really
about
excited.
that sidebar.
No. Do not apologize. So glad you did that. So, Batwoman will be Jewish. The question is, what does that mean and what does that look like? Because what we know is what it looks like that Ragman was Jewish. So, Season 5, he appears all throughout it. And Henry and I have found 6 episodes that have an explicitly Jewish moment or line. It's maybe stretching a little bit of what we usually talk about of explicitly Jewish, but let's touch upon the Jewish highlights of Ragman throughout Arrow Season 5.
Okay, I just want to give a thank you and a shout out to a Facebook friend of mine, Esther Kustinowitz, who has a site called TV Gone Jewy, where she does what we're doing with comics in TV. And I knew I'd watched Season 5 live when it aired, and every time if there was something Jewish, I made a mental note of it, but I couldn't remember everything. I checked in with her, and she led me to where we could get started finding some Jewish things, a couple screenshots, and then
thanks.
Brandon and I went down the rabbit hole. So there is Jewish content in Arrow. Before we get to Ragman, Brandon, he is not the only canonically Jewish character on Arrow. Ollie, Oliver Queen, Arrow's alter ego.
I don't buy that he's Jewish.
He is not Jewish. But his girlfriend, Felicity Smoke, is. And there are several instances where this is pointed out. After she helps Oliver track down one of his villains, Oliver wishes her a Merry Christmas, and she reveals that she's Jewish. And Oliver corrects himself, wishing her a Happy Hanukkah. A later episode, when Barry Allen, the Flash, comes over to their show, he asks Felicity if she had any plans for Christmas, and she says, yeah, lighting my menorah.
Nice.
So
I like the sass.
She's proudly Jewish. Her mom's proudly Jewish. Dr. Martin Stein, who is one half of the hero Firestorm, also Jewish.
Great.
And he mentioned some Hebrew in an episode, but we're talking about Rory Regan. So we're going to look first in Arrow Season 5, Episode 2, Recruits, at 3440. Take a listen.
On Genesis Day, he wrapped me in these rags. Said they were ancient, from the time of Devarim that they would protect me from the fire.
So here you hear that Rory mentions his father saved his life with rags from the time of...
Devarim.
I'm not really sure what Devarim is, but he could have just said Deuteronomy.
Yeah. It's Devarim would be the Hebrew pronunciation.
Or
It's a little
Devarim.
strange.
Yeah.
I also, total side note, I like the fact that Arrow and Ragman bond over their dead dads.
That happens more than you think in Arrow. It's a pretty common thing.
Great.
In the next few episodes, Arrow Season 5, Episode 7, Vigilante, Rory quotes the following, and Ollie responds.
All that most maddens and torments, all that cracks the sinews and cakes the brain. Rory, is that from the Torah? Moby Dick. Oh.
So here that's pretty funny that Ollie asked if it's from the Torah, and he's like, no, it's Moby Dick.
That's after only like one or two other episodes, right? It's like after one more episode, there's so many more to come. So the implication is that Rory is just saying Torah quotes left and right all the time.
And I wish we had that. What is going on between episode 2 and 7?
Right, is he just like constantly teaching a shiur and like teaching a class to all the other superheroes?
And Felicity is like nodding along. Oh, I remember that from Hebrew school. The next episode, episode 8, Invasion, which is a part of their first crossover they did with the other shows in the Arrowverse, they discover the way to defeat the alien race called the Dominators was through Gematria. And let's hear Rory explain Gematria.
Well, no. This just looks random.
It's not. It's Gematria. Gematria is the numerology
Of the Torah, how did I not see that?
For the Gentiles and those of us who actually had social lives in high school, what the hell are you talking about?
In Hebrew, each letter possesses a numerical value. Gematria is the calculation of the numerical equivalents of letters, words, or phrases.
You mean the Dominators' language is based off the Old Testament?
Or shares commonalities, at least. You wanted proof of a divine plan to the universe, right?
Thanks, Rory.
Yeah.
Say anything about that?
Other than the fact he's pronouncing it in a really strange way, all I really want to say is there's a character, I think John Diggle, who responds by saying, "You mean the Dominator's language is based off the Old Testament?" Which is the very Christian way of referring to the Torah. I just feel like a guy like Rory, the way he's presented in the show being so Jewish, I'm pretty sure he'd correct and be like, the Hebrew Bible, or like, that's what you call it. I was a little disappointed that he was just like, yeah, that's, of course we Jews study the Old Testament. That felt a little weird to me, but also, like, I guess I can only ask for so much.
Right, you could argue, like, they're on a time crunch trying to figure out how to defeat
aliens.
These aliens, but he bothers, they have their little quips here and there all the time anyway. So, episode 10, Who Are You? At 11 minutes and 17 seconds, Rory refers to the villain Prometheus as a Dybbuk. So let's take a listen.
It's like he's a Dybbuk.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
One question.
Just one?
I love the consistency that Wild Dog never knows what any Jewish thing is, and he's always the one being like, what is that? Explain that to me. Good for him, because a question unasked never gets answered. So, like, respect to Wild Dog.
If you think that Ragman is a D-level character, Wild Dog, he has like 4 appearances. He's very, very EF level, but a good character. He's sort of like Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, very cool. I also feel like it's like when you pick those minor characters, you can be more creative in reinterpreting them and the fans won't get mad, so it's kind of a good choice.
It's a great choice, yeah. And then in next episode, Second Chances, I love this. This is so cute. At 5 minutes and 10 seconds in, Rory explains bashert. So let's take a listen.
If that isn't bashert, I don't know what is. Bashert means fate. Destiny.
So what the concept of bashert, was he accurate in his description?
Yeah, I guess more or less like sort of fate or destiny or like meant to be might be a way that I sort of describe it. I would definitely not pronounce it as bashert.
Right, bashert.
But,
Yeah, I actually didn't know what he was talking about the first time I saw it, and I had to go back and watch it with subtitles. But like, did he just say bashert?
Yeah, which, like, I guess let's talk about it right now really quick. Rory Regan is played by actor Joel Dinacol, or Dinacol. As far as I can tell, not Jewish at all, and you can probably tell from its pronunciation, he is mispronouncing a lot of key Jewish terms in really weird ways. I'm a little surprised there wasn't anyone on set to, like, correct him and tell him the
like
proper...
a line producer.
Right. It feels... You know, I don't want to get your hopes down, Henry, but it does not bode well for Batwoman's Jewishness.
No, and in fact, I don't expect a ton. I just want, at the very least, a recognition that this is a Jewish character in the same way that the LGBT community wanted to make sure she was lesbian on TV. That's what I want. If she happens to quote some Kabbalah like she does in the comics, then or Leila Chanukia, great. But I just want a recognition of that. So
right. I guess if she holds a book like Rabbi Lowe that says the Kabbalah, I'll try and swallow my disappointment and be like, at least they have that.
For what it's worth, the writers of the pilot are different than the writers of the rest of the series, who are mostly Jewish.
Okay, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But thankfully, when it comes to Ragman, we have saved my favorite for last, Henry. Can I just do a quick context? In episode 12, Bratva, there is a nuclear bomb that is going to go off. And the rest of the team is like sort of running away, and Ragman offers to contain it with his rags, which, like, question of whether or not they can do it. But Ragman covers a nuclear bomb with his rags, and when he does, at 32 minutes and 50 seconds, he says...
So how was his pronunciation for the shema there, Brent?
Yeah, on point. Yeah. Thank God.
He nails it.
A character recited the shema while putting themselves in a life or death situation to prevent a nuclear bomb from destroying the city. Like, that is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty on point. That was great. I remember seeing that, and I couldn't believe it because it's very quiet when he does it. But it's great. Yeah, I think, it's I don't think I would put our rating system the same for TV as for comics, but it's pretty good for TV, for a TV superhero show to have that many references to something Jewish, even with the pronunciation. Not bad.
Yeah. They didn't go for the same typical things about Judaism you hear all the time. They brought in some Hebrew and Yiddish words that you might not otherwise be familiar with. A lot of respect to them for doing that, and for, on a pretty regular basis, reminding you. I know some people I've read are sort of like, ugh, it's so annoying. Rory just shows up and is like, reminder, I'm Jewish. But I think for our purposes, it's like, yeah, that's a nice reminder. I don't mind.
Yeah, and Martin Stein, who I mentioned earlier, there's an episode in Flash.
I'm reminded of a Hebrew word used during times of graduation. Kadima. It means forward.
He refers to Kadima in terms of going forward, moving on.
Nice.
Nice. And he sort of passes the baton. So the Berlanti verse, or the Arrowverse, does have some nice Jewish content in it, and sort of like unashamed Jewish content.
Great. I'm so glad to hear that. What also has nice Jewish content are a couple more DC comics that we're going to be looking at next time as we follow Ragman into the late 90s, into the mid-aughts, more or less, and into pretty recently, just in 2018, we'll be covering a whole bunch more Ragman on our next episode.
And for now, I'm Henry Bernstein.
I'm Brandon Bernstein.
No relation.
You can follow us on Twitter at Jewish Comics Pod, on Facebook at facebook.com/Jewish Comics Pod, or you can email us at jewishcomicspodcast@gmail.com.